Hey YouTube, this is Tony Marie and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a social justice video, and I'm just going to give you all some resources so you all can do some self-education. I always tell people, come to the table with some knowledge. And that's so important because you can't come to the table with no knowledge and expect someone to educate you and teach you, because no. If you want someone to educate you and teach you, you need to give them some money, okay? Because it's real work. It's emotional labor and it's emotionally exhausting. So that's something that I personally have been requiring of people, to either be dedicated to liberation work and equity, or to pay me for my, to pay me for my services and the education that I bring to the table. But here are some sources that you can look up and research and read to educate yourself about different social justice topics, lived experiences, and systematic oppression. First, I'm going to start off with some blogs and websites. So a lot of these I follow on Facebook because I'm very active on Facebook. A lot of the advocacy and activism and education work I do is via Facebook. And so this is a way that I'm able to keep up with what's happening in the world and what are folks talking about when it comes to social justice spaces. So, Everyday Feminism. Everyday Feminism is an amazing site. They focus on intersectionality and the diverse experiences of people who have multiple identities. And they also hire people, they're writers, who are, folks who are talking about that lived experience. So, for example, if they post an article about what it's like being a Black queer woman, or issues that Black queer women face, they have a Black queer woman writing that piece. And I really admire that and appreciate that about everyday feminism. Another site that I recommend is called The Root. And The Root is a site that focuses on folks, issues that Black folks face and other issues like that. On the 4th of July, they posted an awesome video basically interviewing Black folks and asking them what they think about the 4th of July and if they celebrate it. And they was like, no, like, we was not free on the 4th of July. That's why we celebrate Juneteenth, okay? Juneteenth. The next is the Southern Poverty Law Center. I had the opportunity to visit the Southern Poverty Law Center a couple of years ago, and it was amazing. I love the work that they're doing there, and they've been established for quite a while now. They have lawyers who do cases that focus around discrimination and inequality, and they also monitor hate groups and terrorism. So I really appreciate the work that they're doing over there. Trans Liberation Collective. This is an organization that is based out of Chicago that is doing amazing work towards the liberation of trans folks. The next organization is called Chicago BTGNC Collective. And this is a site, well, not a site, organization that is led by and for Black, trans, and gender nonconforming folks. So I have a long list of articles and books that I recommend you all reading. A lot of what I've learned has been via academia, because I am a sociology major and women's and gender studies minor. So I have had to do several papers and several research assignments and read several articles and books and things like that about, these different issues. So these are just some of the things that I've read, or some of the research that I personally conducted for my work. And you can hopefully access this through your public library, but also if you can't, or if you don't have access through your public library's database, I would say Google it, and hopefully you will find what you're looking for. So the first article or book that I recommend is a book called Both Hands Tied: Welfare Reform and the Race to the Bottom in the Low Wage Labor Market. And this is by Collins and Mayer. The next I recommend is Still Hidden in the Closet: Trans Women and Domestic Violence. And this is by Kay Greenberg. So that was a really good piece about really just the domestic violence that trans women of color face. Oftentimes that's not talked about or researched about, and so I really appreciated reading that piece. And this is one of the resources that I use for my research paper. I wrote a about 15 to 16 page research paper about trans people of color, trauma, and resilience. So if you want to read that piece that I wrote, definitely you can contact me and I would email it to you. My email will be down below in the description box. Another piece that I read for that research paper was called Retelling Racialized Violence, Remaking White Innocence, the Politics of Interlocking Oppressions in Transgender Day of Remembrance. And this is by Sarah Lamble. The next is a favorite of mine. It's Redefining Realness by Janet Mock. Janet Mock's book Redefining Realness is amazing. It's an amazing book to read, to learn about what it's like for a poor woman of color who's growing up trans in the world. And I think it's a must read. And she also just came out with a new book called Surpassing Certainty, and that's about her 20s. I haven't read that book yet, but I pretty much read all of Redefining Realness from my research paper. The next thing I recommend is something called Just Getting Out of Bed is a Revolutionary Act. The Resilience of Transgender People of Color who have survived traumatic life events. And this is by Singh and McLeroy. And this is Singh, S-I-N-G-H, by the way. And the next piece is Strength in the Face of Adversity, Resilient Strategies of Transgender Individuals. And that's by Singh, Hayes, and Watson. The next one is a really, also like a must read. And this is by Moraga and Anzaldúa, Gloria Anzaldúa. Gloria Anzaldúa, for folks who do not know, is a queer Latina woman. I don't know if she's still living or not, but her work is amazing, and it's called This Bridge Called My Back. Next is by Bell Hooks, and this is called Ain't I a Woman? Black Women and Feminism. So Bell Hooks is iconic. For folks who do not know Bell Hooks' work, please read her work. She has a lot of work because she's been in academia for a very long time. She's a professor, and she has just a lot of good work about feminism, black feminism and womanism, and what it means to be a black woman and things like that. Another book that I personally have read a little bit of is called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. I still haven't finished it all because I'm so busy with school and all that, but now that my summer classes are over, hopefully I can find that book and read it before class starts back up. Next is by Dr. Angela Davis, and this piece is called Are Prisons Obsolete? And that really just gives you a good insight on the prison industrial complex. Also, The New Jim Crow gives you a good insight on the prison industrial complex and how it affects black life, black families, the black community, and it basically talks about how prison is the new slavery and things like that. So next I'm going to just recommend different people that you all should follow. Folks who I personally follow via Facebook. I've added them as friends. They may take a while to accept your friend request, or they may not accept your friend request at all, because these are folks who are very recognized in social justice spaces and are very you know, I don't want to say publicized, but they're very well known in social justice spaces, and they're doing amazing work. So send them a friend request. If they don't request you as a friend, don't take it personal, but just continue to follow their work. The first person is Lasiyah Wade, and she is based out of Chicago. And I also know Lasiyah Wade. She's an amazing activist, Afro-Latina trans woman, and she's amazing. The next person is Vita Cleveland, and that is V-I-T-A and then Cleveland. And Lasiyah is spelled L-A-S-A-I-A. The next person is Raquel Willis. Next we have Venus Selenite, and that is, or Selenite, S-E-L-E-N-I-T-E. The next person is Joshua Allen. They are an amazing gender nonconforming person, black gender nonconforming person based out of like New York City, Philadelphia area, who does amazing organization work, and they currently are doing workshops with youth right now around the gender binary. Jay Mays the third, Taylor Little, and Steph